100th year of the organization. Currently, the headquarters of the OIV is situated in Dijon, France. We can summarize the mission of the OIV in three main objectives: informing, cooperating, and harmonizing. First, OIV informs its member states about critical issues affecting the sector. Second, OIV fosters cooperation, working closely with other international organizations, and especially those carry out standardization activities, as in the case of the OIV. Finally, OIV focuses on harmonizing practices and standards, and by developing these globally recognized standards, we aim to improve production conditions and support interests of both producers and consumers. To accomplish this mission, we account a big network of almost 1,000 experts all around the world, which come from our member states. And currently, OIV has 51 member states. On November 14, we were happy to welcome China as the 51st member of the OIV. And we have also observers, which are non-member states, which includes of regions, territories, such as European Union and Texas, just to give an example. Here is the structure of the OIV scientific and technical commissions. There are 4 of them. First one is the viticulture, which focuses on areas like wine protection, genetic resources, and climate change adaptation. The second one is the enology commission, which addresses technological advances, microbiology, specifications of enological products, and development of analytical methods. The third one is economy and law, which works on economic analysis, market, and consumption in collaboration of the statistics department of the OIV. Finally, safety and health commission works on the issues such as food safety, nutrition, and health implications of all wine and wine products. These 4 commissions allows us to have a multiple angle when we tackle the complex issues and have a global overview of the topics in all their aspects. In terms of Enology Commission, the outcomes of the work of Enology Commission are published in form of resolutions. These are documents officially adopted by consensus of our member states. Here you can see our 3 main publications: Enological Codex, which includes lists and specifications of all the admitted enological products; International Code of Enological Practices. In this document there are all the definitions of products and treatment practices to make wine; and Compendium of International Methods of Analysis includes all the methods for vitiviniculture products, as well as minimum acceptable limits of their substances. And also you can see here that we have some other publications. These publications are called collective expertise documents. It means that the experts from different countries come together to tackle an issue and really understand it more in a deep way. So, for example, the recent ones we have is about SO2 and wine, because the decreasing level of SO2 has been one of the key points that we are working, which I will mention more in detail. And we also have one about water use in enology. Here I would like to say that end of this year, the current strategic plan OIV is coming to an end. And on January 1st, we will start with our new strategic plan, which will continue until end of 2029. This will guide all the players of wine industry to approach the challenges facing the sector in the upcoming 5 years. There are 6 main axes in this document, including coordinate approaches in sustainability, promote sustainable and resilient viticulture, adapting winemaking and production techniques to meet the future demands, and support all vitiviniculture products. By I mean grapes, table grapes, raisins, vinegars, spirituous beverages issued from grapes, and others. And other access is simplify international trade that ensure that all the wines can move seamlessly across the borders. And finally, consumer safety, an informed perspective on wine and society, which is becoming more and more important nowadays. I invite everyone to check our new strategic plan, which will be soon published on our website. Now, let's look at the current trends in winemaking. We can see that there are two main drivers of the current trends in winemaking, which are driven by climate change and consumer demands. The changes in the environmental condition have direct effect on the composition of grapes and also consequently composition of wine. This makes it necessary to find strategies to adapt to new consequences. And also another effect that it has, that it forces the industry to use the resources more efficiently and sustainably. On the other hand, there are consumer demands in the wine sector evolving as well. The wine consumers nowadays become more and more knowledgeable. They care about how wine is made, which ingredients are present, and asking products with less chemical input. For example, sulfur dioxide is one of the additives very used oftenly in winemaking, thanks to its antimicrobial and antioxidant properties. And for having such important properties, it's difficult to replace it as an enological aspect. However, the consumer nowadays are very susceptible for this additive, so they're asking for wine with lower or no sulfur dioxide. I will talk more about that later. Another trend in the wine sector is demand for lower alcohol wines. Even though due to climate change, the grapes increase their sugar content, which ends up with higher alcohol level in wine, the contradiction is consumers are asking wines with less alcohol. Therefore, this obliges the industry to address this challenge in innovative methods to decrease alcohol content of wine. So to produce wines that are sold by markets, the producers has some tools, some opportunities to put in place in the production. We can group them in biotechnology, emerging physical techniques, and alternative enological products. If we look specifically in bulk wine production, we see that its production is characterized the emphasis on efficiency, consistency, and cost effectiveness. This becomes crucial in all steps of production, starting from crushing the grapes, through fermentation and clarification and stabilization. Moreover, during storage and transportation, which is a very important part for bulk wine, this process needs a special attention to take into account because of risks of oxidation and contamination. And unfortunately, these risks are exacerbated by higher pH levels and the growing trend of low alcohol wines. To address these issues, the producer has to adopt approaches to ensure quality and integrity of their wines throughout all the production processes. So this brings us to dealcoholization, a topic that has been taking a lot of attention in recent years. If we talk globally, we see an increase in the alcohol levels of wines, as I mentioned, because of the climate change. And to avoid this increase, winemaker has various options. For example, they can choose harvesting earlier, which can help maybe control the sugar levels. However, on the other side, for the maturity, especially for phenolic maturity, its impact have a negative impact in the overall quality of wines. So if a winemaker chooses then waiting for the full ripeness, then he or she can end up with an alcohol level which he or she didn't desire. So to address these challenges, the industry focused carefully to minimize the alcohol levels with different solutions. And one of these solutions are the techniques of dealcoholization. The techniques of dealcoholization at the OIV level has adopted in 2012. The objective of this process, this physical process, is to reduce a part or almost all content of ethanol of wines. And there are three main separation techniques to achieve this, which are adopted by the OIV. We can group them in three main techniques: partial vacuum evaporation, membrane techniques, and distillations. And please note that these dealcoholization techniques can be not only employed for producing wines that we know as low alcohol or dealcoholized wine, but also decrease the alcohol level of wine, which I will give an example to make it a little bit more clear. Here you can see the definition of wines and different categories of wines. So, the wine definition of the OIV clearly states that a wine has minimum alcohol content of 8.5 degrees by volume. Although in led by different legislations, regional legislations, this can be reduced until 7% by volume. Until this, it is okay. But then, if a winemaker ends up with a higher alcohol level, higher than his or her expectations, let's just, for given a number, let's say 15%, according to OIV regulations, they can decrease this they can decrease this alcoholization level with allowed dealcoholization techniques that I mentioned. And the limit for this decrease is 20%. So the winemaker can decrease the alcohol level up to, in this example, 12% degrees, and still call it a wine. But if a winemaker would like to decrease this level even more, let's say to 11, then this product cannot be called wine anymore. This product goes to the category of wine with an alcohol content modified by dealcoholization. So this is an important distinction that I wanted to mention. And now another category is dealcoholized wine and partially dealcoholized wine. These are different categories. And to produce these categories, a winemaker first has to make wine via alcoholic fermentation, as usual process. And then he or she has to use the alcoholization process to remove the ethanol in the desired values. For a full dealcoholized wine, the alcohol level needs to be below 0.5, while for partial dealcoholized wine, the level is from 0.5 until the minimum level of minimum alcohol level of wine, which was 8.5%, as I mentioned. I hope this is clear. In order to make a little bit more clear the definitions, I prepared this slide, which shows every single category that I mentioned, and correspond with their corresponding alcohol levels. Here you can see wine, and wine with an alcohol level modified by the alcoholization in red. And then you can see dealcoholized wine and partially dealcoholized wine in pink. And then you also see some other categories in green. Those categories are aromatized wine with alcohol content 14.5 to 22%, wine-based beverages, which has alcohol content between 3.5 to 14.5, and then we have beverages based on viticulture products between 1.1 until 14.5. So the difference of these green product categories, just for the color, not for another meaning, and these products can go under different treatments, such as sweetening, coloring, addition of other aromatizing substances, and other food-related products. This is the main difference. And I would like to share here some of the highlights of the current work at the OIV level for these categories. I can say that there are two main discussions. The first discussion is about dealcoholized wine and partial dealcoholized wine. And the question is, what will be the enological practices which will be allowed to produce these products? Because, as you might be aware, when you remove the alcohol from the wine, you disrupt the balance of the wine. And in order to get that balance, which was normally given by alcohol, you have to come up with other strategies, other additions. So currently, the technical experts of the OIV are working harmonizing of these treatments. And the second topic that OIV experts are working is the part that I mentioned under discussion. The aim of this work is to extend wine-based beverages and beverages based on vitiviniculture products, which can have lower degrees of alcohol, but still be able to use the allowed practices such as coloring, sweetening, and etc., which I mentioned. So these are the two main work that we are currently leading at the OIV level. With that, we can pass to the biotechnological solutions. So, in the modern enology, thanks to the advancement of the microbiology, the potential of the yeast has been uncovered. And if we look at the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is known as conventional yeast for alcohol fermentation, and nowadays in the market it's possible to find various strains of these yeasts, and the producers can select the one that are most suitable for their production. And this is very important, especially for bulk wine production, because the fermentation is in high volumes and the performance of the yeast are becoming more and more important for having a complete and successful fermentation. On the other hand, in the last decades, we have non-Saccharomyces yeasts that were researched intensively. And it is very interesting because these yeasts, in the beginning, they were thought to be only the spoilage yeast because they were extracted from the wines which has some defects. But however, the more studies that are conducted, they are found that they have a lot of benefits for the wine producers. First of all, they can have enhanced the aromatic profiles and color stability of wines. Moreover, they can be employed for microbial acidifications and even lower the alcohol content of wine. Of course, it's not at the same level that I mentioned with the physical techniques, but for smaller adjustment, they can be useful tools. And finally, they have some antimicrobial activities, and they can be useful too for reducing chemical input to the wine. And building on that innovations and novelties in the industry, now recently at the OIV level, we expanded the scope of non-Saccharomyces yeast. This includes to the yeast derivative. Yeast derivatives, which are inactive yeast, oxalates, extracts, cell walls, and monoproteins. And they were, normally in the past, they were only extracted from Saccharomyces yeast. And with this new change now, they can be also extracted from non-Saccharomyces yeast. And this will open a whole new chapter on research and application of yeast derivatives, which are used for various stages of fermentation and also post-fermentation processes. And another very rapidly evolving tool in wine production is bioprotection. So this is very innovative because the theory of this tool is that we use some beneficial microorganisms and we use them to control the undesirable ones in grape, must, and wine. Or we can use those beneficial microorganisms to avoid oxidations. Both of them very important because they have a power to decrease sulfur dioxide and still maintain the sensory profile. And the bioprotection can be made in different stages of winemaking, including pre and during fermentation. But for its effective application, there are some factors that has to be controlled very carefully, such as temperature, SO2 resistance, initial microbial population of wine are essential in this methods. But when applied correctly under favorable condition, it is an alternative for or complement to the traditional methods for stability. And the research still continues on this process to be able to fully understand its capabilities. And at the OIV level, we recently published a document which makes a summary of all the current research available in the topic. Another topic that we look at OIV are the energy savings during winemaking. Because especially for white wine production, but also for some red wine styles, temperature control by refrigeration is one of the winemaking process that significantly contributes to the energy consumption in wineries. So white wine production, white wine's fermentation generally done in very low temperatures, around 14 to 16, and in which temperature the yeasts are contributing positively to the aromatic profile of the wines. But the question of the researchers was, can we increase this temperature a couple of more degrees, but still arrive to the sensory profile that we desire? And the second question was, if we do so, can we decrease on the energy consumption? Luckily, the first research done in Italy and Germany showed positive answers. Therefore, we also started to work in this topic at the OIV level. And the next step will be to launch a survey globally to understand if the winemakers around the world consider adopting this strategy. So now let's pass to the emerging physical techniques. There are some various techniques which are already used in the food processing. And now they are being adapted to various aspects of wine production. These technologies at the OIV level that are adapted are discontinuous high pressure process, ultrasound, and pulse electric fields. And the work still continues on a different application of pulse electric fields and also UVC radiation. I will mention very briefly on these three techniques. Pulse electric field, this involves the use of high voltage electric pulses for a very short duration. And this creates a disruption of the cell membranes. By doing so, it facilitates and accelerates the extraction of polyphenols and aroma compounds of the grape cells. This way, it's possible to reduce maceration times. And if we think about the red wine making process as a whole, the maceration is the part that takes a lot of time, which is a very important time for the wineries, which has to be very efficient with the capacity of tanks. That's why these processes are becoming more important to reduce the time of maceration. And we are currently working at the OIV to also its use for the microbial stabilization, which is still ongoing. And high hydrostatic pressure, again, another emerging technique which is being explored, and this involves applying a uniform high pressure using a liquid medium. Again, it has similar effects as pulse electric fields, which are accelerating the maceration time, but this also has effective in reducing the microbial loads of indigenous yeast and bacteria present in wine, and this will also be a way to decrease sulfur dioxide used in winemaking. Ultrasound is yet another innovation that is being adopted in the wine industry. This uses mechanical waves at frequencies above range of human hearing. Again, the key applications are for maceration, also increase the extraction of phenolical compounds, and I can say that all these methods allow winemakers to achieve efficiency depending on the desired wine style that they want to produce and depending on also their size of production. Now let's look at a little bit about the alternative enological products. OIV experts continuously work on evaluating new enological products. By enological products, I mean the products that you use to make wine, and review the existing ones for their relevance and potential application purposes. One processing aid that I would like to mention with its characteristic is the chitosan, which is a natural polysaccharide derived from fungal sources. It is very versatile for winemaking. It has applications that enhance both quality and safety. by reducing the metal content, preventing haze, reduce possible contaminant, especially aflatoxin A, and reduce undesirable microorganisms such as Brettanomyces. And in the part of manufacturing the chitosan, it can be extracted from fungal resources, but also from crustacean resources. However, the OIV recommends only extraction from fungal origins. Therefore, we are currently actively working on a new method to determine the isotopic ratio of chitosan, which will ensure its origin, whether crustacean or fungal, which will be key for its transparency and sustainability for its use. Another product that I would like to mention is the fumaric acid. This has been studied a lot recently at the OIV level. It's an organic acid first isolated from a plant, but it naturally presents in the grapes in very small amounts, and also in wine as a byproduct of fermentation. And in food industry, fumaric acid serves as an antibiotic, economical and non-toxic additive with multiple applications. And when it comes to the wine, its relevance is in preservation of wines, again with the same goal of reducing sulfur dioxide for better conservation as well as acidification. If we look at the OIV framework, the application of fumaric acid in 2021 has been approved as a treatment to inhibit malolactic fermentation. This provides winemakers another tool for the control of the fermentation process. In 2023, OIV adopted the monograph, which details all the properties and its use of fumaric acid. And last month, we worked on the treatment of wines with fumaric acid for acidification. And the work still continues on this additive. Now the experts are working on its treatment in must level, continue with the work. So this brings us to the end of the presentation. And in conclusion, I would like to say that OIV is at the forefront of innovation, harmonization, and sustainability, while facing the current challenges in the wine sector due to, as I mentioned, climate change and changing consumer demands. There are opportunities such as dealcoholization, biological tools, emerging physical techniques, and alternative enological products. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention.